nominations, is the word I'm thinking of. We can nominate one, we can nominate both. If we nominate both, we will vote on both. And you can vote for each of them. You can vote both times. But whoever gets the most votes or whatever would be the one that's going to win, so to speak, I guess.
Well, I mean, I nominate both of them, but I mean, I want to vote on one, right?
Well, if you nominate both, or, excuse me, I got this thing in my mouth. If both of them get nominated, then we would vote on both of them, because they've both been nominated.
Okay, who knows these people?
I know both of them.
Yeah, I do too.
Mr. Waddington lives over here on Royal Tower. He does the T-shirts, Waddy Tees or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I know him.
Brent Chipwood is sitting right there in the audience. He's been in the real estate business. You might even know him. But his resume stuff is in there. He's been in the banking business and the real estate business.
I'm not seeing too well.
Um,
I remember. Good to see you. Okay, I nominate him.
All right, so
All right, I nominate Edward Waddington. All right,
there's both of them's been nominated. Like I say, you can vote twice. I know them both, so I'm gonna probably vote twice. I like them
all
both.
right, let's
But
vote.
all in favor of Brent, do so with show of hands. And how many is that?
5.
All in favor of Mr. Waddington, I guess I'm saying that right, Waddington, Edward Waddington, do so with show of hands.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
so there's 3. All right, so Brent has got 5 votes. So Brent would be the one on there. And make sure we keep Mr. Waddington's stuff and make sure,
Next seat that's open then.
yeah, we need, because he is a good man. I think he's
Just
been in the
place him
community a
in
long time and all that good stuff as well.
Cool.
Next is, let's see it. Oh,
Presentation by
wow. Next is presentation by citizens. Anyone who would like to address council on anything, regardless if it's on the agenda or not, may do so at this time. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record.
Walter, you still here?
I'm still here. Walter Lindler, 131 Bolsters Lock Road, Irmo.
You don't have to repeat what you said.
I appreciate
Embellish
I
it.
appreciate you folks listening to all these people that were here tonight. When I moved here in 72, Old Friars Gate was almost like Hill Creek when Hill Creek was first built.
It was the
It's
new
not like that
Whitehall.
now. It's not like that now.
Hill Creek is over by Wendy's, right?
Behind Wendy's, yeah.
But I think that you folks have had enough people here tonight that probably expressed some of the same feelings that I did, other than the fact that I don't think they were as adamant about getting automobiles out of yards and grass. But I do think, as I stated before, and I'll leave with this statement, that what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're gonna make rental properties have to abide by the ordinances, then the homeowners need to abide by the ordinances. And I hope that you folks will take this in consideration and run with it. Thank you.
Thank you for staying, Walter.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Miss Witt, you want to come in?
My name is Patricia Witt. I live at 213 Minehead Road, I've loved Irmo for the last 16 years. I wanted to make this my last home. But unfortunately, because of some malpractice, last year I had 4 hip surgeries, and I'm now completely disabled. I'm self-supporting, I live by myself. I have a note from my physician stating, for my well-being, I should have a carport to cover my ramp. This is my last picture of my fall that we had the day that we had the snow. This is my shoulder on my ramp. Okay? I'll also be having a knee replacement later this year. I don't feel that I'm asking for anything unusual. I'm requesting my carport on the driveway because it will cover my ramp, which I have a picture of here. I know Mr. Pollock came out and took pictures. Then I need to go up the stairs and keep the driveway and ramp dry during inclement weather. I want to make this perfectly clear, Mr. King. This is not a want on my part, as you referenced me at the last meeting on 1/17. And as others have stated, I am requesting the variance to the zoning regulations based on the medical necessity prescribed by my physician for modification of my property. I have documentation from my physician if anyone would like to see it. I don't appreciate Mr. Glassmeyer stating that if people aren't able to stay in their houses, then they should move. I don't appreciate that at all, because I've been a good citizen of Irmo for 16 years. What makes me angry is when I look down my street and 6 houses from me, there's a blatant zoning violation here that's been here for many years, and nobody's done nothing about it. But because I'm handicapped, and I asked you all for a variance to build a professional carport, I do have a contractor who spoke on my behalf in December. You all shot it down, saying, Mr. Glassmeyer, that I wasn't permanently disabled. Well, I am. So after I was turned down, I did contact HUD to see what my rights were. And I know that you're familiar with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. They're jointly responsible with the U.S. Department of Justice for enforcing the Federal Fair Housing Act, which prohibits discrimination in housing on the basis of race, color, religion, and disability. Just because you look at me and you don't think maybe I'm disfigured enough does not mean that I am not disabled. The Fair Housing Act is codified at 42 U.S.C. Article 3601-3619. I allege that the Irmo Zoning Committee is responsible for discriminating against me. This is prohibited by HUD and the Fair Housing Act. They have refused to permit, at the expense of me, the person with the disability, a reasonable modification or accommodation. Under the Fair Housing Act, this is against the law. The town of Irmo has nothing in their policy as how to handle a request such as mine. So what are you going to do when you get another handicapped person that comes in here that might be, you feel a lot more handicapped than I am? It's something that you all should look into your books and make a plan for, instead of bickering about things that are quite trivial. I was assigned a caseworker from HUD named Robin Holmes, and I know she's been in contact with several of you, and she is planning a site visit on March 7th to interview all of us. Mm-hmm. And she's going to visit my property, which I don't have any qualm about anybody visiting my property and seeing what I'm talking about. I have plenty of room. The issue is this, me falling, because I get out of my car, there might be slippery leaves or ice, and I don't see it and I fall. Well, one of these days, I'm probably gonna end up at a nursing home because I'm not gonna be able to recover like I have. The bottom line is handicapped people do have rights. How many times have you gone over to Kroger? And Mr. Hardy, I want you to listen to me.
I'm listening.
How many times have you gone to a grocery store and seen somebody pull in and they don't have a handicap sticker? But yet when I had spacers in my side, I could barely get out of the car, and I had to park quite a ways away to try to get into the store and get a card I could write on. And that's the kind of things that makes people mad. I want you folks to know that I voted for each and every one of you. And I want to specifically thank Mr. Walker for being the only person that seemed concerned about my case. He came over personally and met with me, looked at my house, the driveway where we were talking about putting it. He seemed to be really concerned. And I do thank you, Mr. Walker, and you can be assured that I will vote for you again. Is there any other questions for me? Would you all like to see any of these pictures?
I would like to see the
We
one,
can't.
if Bob
We
will,
can't.
one of the
We
house,
can't.
no, the house down the street.
Why can't you see the picture?
I would, it would be against the advice of counsel to make any statements in regards to this, as there's an ongoing investigation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why can't you see the picture the woman's willing to share with you?
She can ask,
I'll email it to you.
Huh?
she can ask Bob for it. We'd like to keep this inside house if we can.
Okay.
This is really a very simple matter,
Okay.
folks. I'm not asking for $1 million. I'm asking to stay in my home. And how do you think I feel as a good citizen of Irmo for 16 years? All my neighbors love me. They said, oh, Miss Pat, she's always bringing me vegetables. She's always making me bread. Nobody will say a bad word about me.
Miss Pat,
But
give
yet,
those
when
pictures
I
to Bob,
ask-
please. Give those pictures to Bob.
No, I can't give them to him. I'll let him look at them.
Oh, well, we needed a copy of them, so.
Well, they cost me $30. $30 is a lot of money to me.
Say it again?
I'm sorry, Kathy wasn't asking for those pictures. She was wanting a picture of the home down the way.
Down the way that had a
Oh,
zone.
yeah, there's the little pictures.
That's the little ones.
So I don't mean to be curt with you folks. It's just that I feel that I have to state my
I want to
facts.
see the.
I feel your pain. My wife has knee replacement. She's a 3-time survivor of cancer.
I've met her at Kroger many times. I know you're.
Well, yep, Kathy, and we bump into all the time. I had a situation in my neighborhood.
Zoning thing.
Cost me $4,500
I know.
to get it resolved. And it was resolved the way I'd asked it to be resolved from the very beginning, but it took $4,500 away from us to get it
I
resolved.
have the money to build.
Well, it's not the money, it's the issue. The law was on my side. I haven't heard about yours until I've been out of town, and
I think you were on the last committee, weren't you, when you turned me down?
that was the zoning board that did that.
Yeah.
This is not, they're separate. And
Council
they
will turn you down.
have sway over zoning.
But this is something that's really a real problem. I'm not the only handicapped person, but I'm the only one that has stood up this far to fight about it. And if I have to go to the Supreme Court, I do. I have the means to do it, and I'm going to do it because I know what my rights are, and I am handicapped, and I'm not asking for a lot. I have the room. I'm on a corner lot. There's a drawing by my contractor here that shows we're 28 feet from the road.
Well, I don't think that's the problem. Based on what I read, the problem is that the
It's
zone.
not even with the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And let me tell you what they're
And that's,
suggesting.
that's,
to
that's,
Let me-
that's
let me-
pretty much in
let me-
many.
We're going to discuss this in the.
This is,
Right,
Again, I would prefer that you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah. Well, we'll let the HUD lady meet all of us in March, and we'll hopefully get it resolved. But I will tell you right now, my next call is going to be to Channel 19 on your side, and I think I'll have the support of every handicapped person in Columbia.
Mr. Bob, would you give these back to the nice lady?
any other presentation by citizens?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Seeing,
The address is on there for you, too, so you can
None. We have 2 items on here for discussion.
Discussion.
Before we go to those, let me explain something here to make sure we're all in the same wavelength and agreement. We have item A, procedures for placing a referendum on the ballot. I think Bob has sent the procedure for doing that to everyone. Everyone has that. Any of these 2 discussion, item B, both of these are legal matters, should be on the agenda as a executive session item. And as far as my understanding from the law, we cannot overrule a ZBA ruling. We cannot do that by law. We don't have the authority. We cannot do that. So no matter what, we can't do that. When someone comes to the planning department and asks for whatever they ask for, and they don't get it, they have to go to ZBA. The ZBA has strict laws based on the state of South Carolina making those laws in order to keep the politics out of granting a variance for your brother-in-law, your sister, a campaign getter, or somebody that votes for us, or whatever. And they have strict guidelines on what a variance can be issued for, and only why. That's all they can do. They can't give one for any other reason other than that. Once that's done, and somebody's unhappy with that, the state procedure and the law says they got to go to circuit court and appeal it. That's it. And they have 30 days. If they don't do it within 30 days, I don't even know. I guess they can, I don't know. But that's for an attorney to advise somebody, not us. So we have no avenue of discussing these things, either one of them in public, because they're client attorney privilege. My suggestion would be 1 or 2 things. If somebody wants to discuss these, if council wants to discuss these, we can make a motion to go into executive session. But since they're not on the agenda, and since they weren't amended to add them to executive session, and since it doesn't meet that criteria of amending the agenda at this time because we're past that, and we don't really need to discuss it in executive session because there's nothing we can do anyhow. My opinion is we need a motion. We need to suspend the rules and move adjournment up and make a motion to adjourn and be through with this.
Okay,
That's my recommendation.
well, that's fine. You can recommend it all you want, but the bottom line is it's on the agenda as a discussion item. We're going to take item A first.
And
The procedures for placing a referendum on a ballot in November. And like you said, we have gotten the information on how to do that.
we don't need to
But
discuss
John
it publicly.
it's
No, we
not
don't.
secret information, Hardy.
They can
John
figure it out
Q. Public-
themselves. They can get a lawyer. Does anybody
John
want to
Q.
make a motion
Public-
to suspend the rules?
John Q. Public.
I want to make a motion.
Wait a minute.
To
You
suspend the
can't,
rules.
wait a minute. You can't interrupt me. I'm
suspend the
having.
rules.
Wait a minute, sir. I am
There's a
discussing
motion.
this
Is there a
item.
second?
You can't have a second on it because I'm discussing this item.
We're not going to discuss these. These
Yes, you are, because
executive
it's on the
items.
agenda as a
On the
discussion.
advice of
You
counsel,
are
we
not-
I will
cannot discuss this.
You are
Second.
not going to cite.
That motion.
Well,
The motion has
then
been,
people that are concerned with how to put a referendum on, this is the kind of counsel you got that will not allow you to discuss.
they have
these
to get
things.
legal advice
That's
to do that.
fine.
It's not our referendum.
It
it's
is.
their
It is.
referendum.
They
No.
wanted to know. They have asked us.
They hadn't
per
asked
your-
me. They hadn't asked you.
Well,
They
per
hadn't
the,
asked
per the
anybody.
emails that went
No.
back and forth, they've asked how to do
So
it.
there's been a motion
So you're saying you're
and a
not willing
second
to allow that to
to
happen?
take something out of order.
Okay.
All in favor?
That's fine. You can do whatever you want.
I'm in favor.
All opposed?
All right,
You opposed? Or for?
I'm opposed because
Okay.
The people have asked for this to be on the
I
agenda.
think we ought to give them a copy of the state law.
They can get that.
Exactly.
It's on the state law. They can get that.
But you're hiding it from. You saying
No,
you
we're
go
not.
out.
Hiding,
Wait a
it's
second.
public.
On the damn.
It's
law.
public, Barry.
You yelling at me, sir?
So there's been a
Public.
motion.
They wanted to know how to do it.
I'm gonna take a motion
and
for
you're
adjournment.
refusing to allow them to discuss how to do it.
Is there a
Fine.
motion?
I
for
vote to
adjournment?
adjourn.
Fine.
I vote to adjourn. All in favor?
Oh,
All opposed?
I was
All
with
opposed.
you up until the end.
Okay.
These are legal matters. They need to get
It's
their own
not a
attorney
legal
and talk
matter.
to their.
Okay,
Yes,
It's
they
not a
are.
legal matter if
Yes, they
people
are.
want to know how to do it.
We're in the fourth.
Well,
We're not asking.
since we have adjourned.